everybody. Welcome to Performance Anxiety, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. I want to say a special thanks to AKG for sending us their podcasting package, which has an amazing Lyra microphone and a great set of headphones. Now today, my guest may have the hardest last name to pronounce. Kjellvander joins us to discuss his new album about love and loving again. But first we have to figure out how he got there. His career started as a Swedish slacker, but he soon realized how much he actually loved creating music. And that's when his sound changed. His bass voice combined with the Americana vibe of the music is familiar, but he likes to throw listeners some curveballs, like recording a Doom Country album with Tonbruket. He also had to race home while on tour when COVID began closing borders across Europe. Now his new album is perfect for driving at night. It's a very loose album and one of my favorites of 2020. Give him a follow on social media, pick up the new album wherever you buy music, follow us at Performance ANX on social media, subscribe, rate, and review, and maybe consider spotting us a cup of coffee on ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety. So let's dive right into this episode with Kjellvander on Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network.
You're insane.
This is Kjellvander, and you are listening to me talk about my new album and a lot of my old albums on Performance Anxiety, which is something I'm luckily not too familiar with.
I don't know.
You're in a nice field there.
Oh, thank you. I shot that.
Field. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, we were at a farm about 2 weeks ago for right before Halloween, and took the kids there, and so it was really cloudy. So took a nice.
And where is that? Where are you from? Where are you?
Winchester, Virginia.
Exciting. Virginia.
Yeah.
Lovely. Congratulations. I don't know if it's in order, but I imagine it is.
I'll take it. And
You'll take it?
I'll take it. And I noticed something weird.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Look at the microphone. It doesn't like my mic because it'll disappear.
Doesn't like it. No.
So weird. I don't know what my mic said. So, all right. So, I really appreciate
crazy times.
Oh yeah. But I appreciate you joining me during these times. It's
yes.
God, I'm new to your music, and so going back and discovering it is really interesting. There's some real twists and turns there.
Oh, nice to hear.
So
I've always it's an interesting thing because I've always thought, when you make stuff and you're just kind of in your own little world and you're just making art or whatever you want to call it, and you just have this feeling that there's like this one thing that's been in my mind since I was like 20 or something. Like the only thing that really matters is just that, one person one day in 100 years finds this song,
Right.
Just one, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's really nice when somebody tells you that they've, discovered your back catalog or whatever. It's a cool, cool feeling.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of questions about it because it starts off a whole lot different than it's ended up. So
it's been made. That's what, growing up in not public, but you know what I mean? It kind of does to you. Yeah.
Well, you've got an interesting story, and I want to go back to the beginning and start and figure out how you got into music. Was your family a musical family?
Actually, I was talking to my friend about that yesterday. We were driving home from a show, and then we, got in this late night highway drive talks, and they really, my dad he played guitar and sang a little bit, on birthday parties and stuff.
Yeah.
And Mom was not really, we had a couple of copies of some Leonard Cohen records. We had some Gilbert O'Sullivan. We had some Mamas and Papas, some Don McLean. Dad really loved Julio Iglesias and Robert Palmer, who I still, I really like those mid-'80s Robert Palmer records.
Oh, those are great.
Yeah, they're great. But that was kind of like, that was what was coming out of the house when I was a kid growing up. And I think what happened with most, you find your own thing, somewhere around 10, 12, 13, you just kind of gravitate towards music. And I remember I had a babysitter who really, really loved Bon Jovi. That was Slippery When Wet,
Yep.
Yeah, and we got heavy into Bon Jovi, and then we went to the library and we borrowed Motley Crue.
Oh, wow.
You know, and then Striper. You know,
Yes.
that's kind of how it like. This is the library. You know, I was thinking really. I was what this was kind of a testament to the library and the music department. The library is like, oh my God, you can go here and just like there's heavy metal and there's
You can borrow metal.
You can borrow them for 2 weeks.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So where?
And if you keep them for a little longer, all you get is a slap on the wrist.
Yeah,
it's great.
You gotta pay them like a nickel.
Yeah.
I don't know how libraries ever stayed around.
No.
So where was this taking place? Where were you living at this time?
At this time, I was in Seattle.
Okay.
In the Northwest, yeah. So I moved there. I was born in Sweden.
Okay.
It's 1976, and I lived in Sweden in Malmö in the south until I was 6, and my parents immigrated to Seattle in 1981.
So what was it that really made you want to play music? And did you start off on guitar, or was there another instrument?
No, I started out playing trombone in the school, the marching band in the summertime, and
that's awesome.
The jazz ensemble or whatever. I
got 3 kids doing that right now.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great place to just learn the power of music. Just in the collectiveness and the power of everything. But I mean the collective power of just playing. The Wilhelm Tell overture, like a bunch of 12-year-olds, and it sounds like, crazy.
Yeah.
But it's still, it brings every hair on your back, to a halt. It's a cool thing.
Oh yeah.
So that's what I started doing, and then just singing. I've always been, as long as I remember, I've always been, keen of singing Richie Valens songs or whatever.
Oh, there you go.
Like all this, kid stuff, but
that stuff was having a big resurgence at that time too.
It was. I mean, the La Bamba movie had a profound effect on me.
Oh
really.
my God, that opening with the plane falling out of the sky! Holy crap!
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. I know it was traumatizing.
Yeah, it really was. I remember that, and I remember seeing it with my dad and my brother, and going out and buying the soundtrack like the next day.
Yeah, I still don't fly.
Oh, wow.
I do believe it has something to do with La Bamba.
I think that had effect on a lot of people.
Yeah, it really has, for sure.
At what point did you really decide you wanted to form a band and go out and start gigging?
Well, when I moved back to Sweden, I was 15 at the time. I was 15, 16. Heavy. Like I really loved the Grateful Dead and early Metallica, Bad Religion, all that, more like everything that was kind of in the skate scene.
Okay, yeah.
At that time, or like the late 80s, early 90s, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Bad Brains, all that stuff.
Yep.
And there was a band at the school that we moved from Seattle to really like rural, like an hour outside of Stockholm, in a castle, actually, because my mom, one of my mom's friends was a count. Like she went to university with a guy who was a count.
Oh my gosh.
And we were kind of like, my parents had gotten divorced and mom was moving back with 3 kids and she didn't have a job and all that. So we were kind of out in the outs in a way. And this guy said, well, I have this castle and you guys can live in one of the.
You know what? I forgot. I've got this castle.
Yeah. So we ended up really in rural Sweden. And I had like an hour's bus ride to this town called Järna. And it was it was a nice cultural town. It was really small, probably like 5,000 people, 6,000, like more of a village almost. But it had a really nice cultural scene, and there was a band there. And I at this point in time, I was sophomore in high school.
Okay. And
there was a band, and they were an instrumental band that were kind of playing like shadow stuff and like. They were doing like 60s music, but without the vocals. They were just doing like these really long verses of E, A, B. I was like, you guys, you should maybe have a lead singer.
Yeah.
And they had an audition in the auditorium, and there was like, me and another 8 or 9 young hopefuls, and I got the job because I knew English, probably, to be honest with you. But, yeah, that was in high school. And then we just kind of were this high school band, and I enjoyed it. I know there was something about, what I really liked most about it was probably the camaraderie and the volume in these rehearsal spaces, and just the electric guitar and all this stuff. I was almost like, I wasn't brought up in a Christian home, but I almost felt like it, because as soon as I heard an electric guitar, I was like live, I was like, what the hell, the devil, what is this, it really blew my mind.
Wow.
And I would say I was old at the time, because I was like 15 or 16, like the first time I was standing right next, and it was a small little amp. It was like a Gorilla, I think the amp was called.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I think I know those.
And you know those. Yeah. And I mean, they pack a punch, but it was still, it's not really a wall of sound. No. I was blown away. Just a teenager. And I was like, shit. That is the sound of the future. Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of where it started.
Okay.
And then, so we did we were just a small town, small school band, and we played 5 or 6 shows that year. And then I moved to another town called Lund, which is in the south of Sweden, which is really a university. It's kind of like, in the States, it would remind me of like Chapel Hill or something like that. It's really like one of these, there's a lot of people coming through, a lot of insurgents of youth, and of, a lot of indie and culture. And there's a lot of record labels have their offices there, and there's a nice places to play. And it's just really, a really nice kind of small town, and always bands passing through. So that's when that really opened. The first week I was there was a festival, and there was on the bill at this festival that was in this time. I mean, the town was like 80,000 or something. There was Radiohead was playing.
Oh my gosh.
And Megadeth and Anthrax and Ride. Whoa. And Elvis Costello. I mean, there was just like all these bands playing in this little tiny town. And for me, coming from amazing. This rural part of Sweden, I was like, whoa, this is where it's at. And that's really that town, and that, the few people, the few really hungry souls that were behind all this cultural, which is usually just a couple of people that really change, the way a town or a city is shaped. But they did a great job, because that summer, that was like the summer of 92 or 93, was a really nice warm summer.
Oh man.
Just a beautiful couple of weeks there when we just moved there. And that really also kind of had a profound effect on me wanting to start a band of my own, and starting to write songs and all that. Yeah.
Those guys all had some great albums out at that point, Countdown to Extinction for Megadeth, and
exactly.
Pablo Honey.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome albums. Yeah, and to see those bands perform them live is just, especially if you're really kind of uninitiated to electric guitar and
yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, at that point, and that was a year after, so I'd been, I remember I saw my first concert, like real actual concert, was Teenage Fan Club.
Oh wow!
And opening up for Nirvana, which was actually pretty.
That's
also
good really one to start with.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
My first show was Mr. Big opening up for Rush.
Yeah, well, that's not bad either.
No.
No. That would have been my dream concert, maybe 88, 89.
That was it was about
90, maybe.
90, yeah. It was because I couldn't drive yet. I was 16, so it was 89, 90, and a friend of mine just came up to me at school one day, and and my parents had just gotten divorced, like within months of this happening, and they're like, buddy comes up to me, he's like, "Hey, I've got an extra ticket to go see Rush. You want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah," but so this is 89, 90, no cell phone, so I had to go to the payphone at my high school, call my dad up, and say, "Hey, my friend wants to take me to go see a concert, Rush."
Yeah. Mom said I could.
Yeah. I wish I thought about that. Unfortunately, I didn't need that. My dad was just on a whole other planet at this point. And,
I understand.
And he was like, "Okay, what time are you going to be back?" I'm like, "What do you have to? How much is it?" I'm like, "Nothing." He said, "It's an extra ticket. He just gave it to me." Okay, just be home by midnight or something. I wasn't home till like 2, but he was already out. He didn't know. So.
Yeah. Lovely. Man, I wish I would have stopped. That was like the reason, because when my parents got divorced, I was like, this is, it was almost like the opening of this vault. I was like really looking forward to this vault of just being under my, one parent at a time and being able to just kind of go with the flow. It's sad, but it's very true.
It is. It's a tough. It's a tough time for something traumatic like that to happen. So
yeah.
I admire the people who can get through it. I didn't get through it so well. So
no.
But this also is not about me. So how did we go from Sweden? That you ended up going back to, was it Seattle with Loose Goats?
No, we never. No. After that, I've stayed here.
Okay.
I did the Loose Goats. The Loose Goats was based in Lund, in the town in the south.
Okay.
And we did a couple of records. I mean, we've toured a bit, or I've toured a bit in the States through the years, and I've been back, a couple of months here, a couple of months there. But I've stayed basically in Sweden since then.
Oh, okay. I heard read a quote. So it may be referencing something in the past, and it says that your house in Seattle was not on the back cover of Pearl Jam's 10 album, but on a 7-inch that was a fan club release.
Yeah, something like. Yeah, this is right. Not before 10 was. I think it was just a fan club thing. Somebody said this, or somebody showed it to me, and I said, "That's my house," and it was like the back of. It was like a little, like outline of our block.
That's crazy.
It was, but one of those stories that somebody grabs onto and then it just goes. Yeah,
it was a quote that I read, and I'm like, oh, maybe in my head it automatically made me think that you were there at the time. So
at the time, I probably when the house was when the photo was taken, but not now.
Right.
No,
not when you found out about it.
It was 95 to 2001. We were a band. So that's 5 years. Yeah.
So how did you guys come up with the name Loose Goats?
We started in it. I don't know. It's something, just something that,
Because that's an interesting name. It's unusual.
It is unusual. I mean, it was high school. Somebody said something about feeling loose. I don't remember.
I thought it maybe like goats with loose morals or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
slutty goats.
Yeah, exactly, slutty goats. But
that's a different band.
Like, I don't know. I can't. I mean, loose was this word that we were just saying now, which is kind of interesting because now when you know the Viagra Boys, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They have the guy Sebastian has loose tattooed in his forehead.
Oh my gosh! I never realized that.
Because this was an old thing that we used to say, like, I'm really loose, which was like, I'm really like kind of. Like, it was kind of this like slacker thing, like, oh, how you feeling? I'm really loose.
Okay.
It was just kind of what we said, and that's where it came from, Loose Goats. That we were just like. This was in the like early 90s when like being a slacker was the coolest thing you could be,
I remember those days.
Don't give a shit about anything.
Yep.
And if you cared about anything, you were just way too pretentious.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Be allowed to vote.
Yeah, you're not allowed to care about anything at all.
No. I mean, I can. Yeah, those were crazy times.
Weird. Yeah, it was a very weird point of view to have, but
very weird, very, very weird. But there's a lot of good stuff that came out of them. I mean, if you think about the movie Slacker, there's a lot of like really nice quotes in it, and there's a lot of like really great literature and movies and stuff that. So there was. I mean, there was something. It was a rite of passage kind of in a way.
It was
for our generation.
Yeah, and the music and the movies, like you're saying, that came out of that whole thing were just, really timely for me, because I can't imagine growing up at any other time.
No.
Maybe everybody says that, but.
No, but I think it was. I mean, I think it was necessary because it was a reaction, of course, to the 80s being more of the 50s.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, and I'm just waiting for the next wave of that kind of reaction from our kids.
Yeah, I'm too, because at that time, Nirvana reinvented rock. I mean, they've just stripped it down and brought it back to the essentials. And I'm waiting for the next one, and I'm really curious to see what that's going to sound like, because it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. It's got to come.
Haven't heard it yet, but I know it's coming.
Oh, no. I hear you.
So Loose Goats.
Yeah.
The first EP. Sounds. It's crazy. It's just the band just kind of went a whole different way after that EP. I mean, that EP is really noisy, punky.
Yeah, we were really like into. I was really heavy into early Flaming Lips.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like Voodoo and just anything that was kind of. I think what's kind of been like the main like a compass for me in life is always it's just kind of being like, well, we could do it like this, or just kind of be in somebody's face in a way. Like somehow you just want to do something that's kind of obnoxious somehow. You understand what I mean?
Yep.
And that time was really. There was a lot of that going on in the alternative scene. So we were young, and we were a couple of songwriters, and we were just kind of like just trying stuff, trying to find our way. Heavily influenced by Pavement, heavily influenced by like Arches of Loaf, and and all those bands, all the whole Chapel Hill scene, and the Merge records, and Dinosaur Jr. and all that stuff. I
was going to ask if Dino was an influence, because I definitely hear some of that in the noisier stuff.
Yeah, definitely. No, for sure. But then, somewhere around those years, Neil Young kind of, popped up in life. Yeah. For real. Like, you really kind of like got a grasp around him, with Zuma and On the Beach and all those records.
Those are two of my favorite Neil Young albums of all time.
They're great. They're really great. And that really like, and I just started, I just kind of got interested in him as an artist as well.
Yeah.
And, there's so much of him in that scene, in the alternative scene. And there's like, he kind of embodies a lot of what that was about, a lot
sure.
of. And so once he kind of came on the scene, for me at least, it was like, oh, okay, there is a Godfather in this thing,
Yeah, it was interesting because I remember growing up hearing Neil Young, but it was always the Harvest Neil Young,
and Harvest Moon and all that stuff.
And so I knew him as the softer Neil Young, the countryer version of Neil Young, Old Ways, things like that.
Yeah.
And then he got embraced by the alternative crowd for his work, especially his stuff with Crazy Horse.
Yeah.
And then that's when I started finding out about him. I remember hearing somebody talk about the best guitar solo ever was the one note guitar solo from Cinnamon Girl. And I was like, I don't remember that. I don't even remember that song. So I went out and bought Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere, and I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah. No. It was the same for me. It was just really, whoa.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. It was so raw.
It's raw, and it infuses. I mean, it's everything from that drew me to lo-fi, everything that drew me to jazz, everything that drew me to country. It's all just infused in one little soul.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes one album.
Yeah.
It depends on what album you listen to for Neil, but
exactly. Yeah.
As Loose Goats progress, is that why each album seems to be more and more alt country sounding?
Yeah, I think what happened was there was like the first record came out when I was 18, and then 19, and then 20. And when I was 20, my dad passed away.
Okay.
In 96, and at that point, Before that, I was just making music because it was fun with my friends, and we just did stuff that was it was all just an excuse to get drunk and go on the road, more or less. And somewhere around there, I realized that maybe I really like this thing with the songwriting, and I really like music, and I really want to play music and to give it my best shot, for real. And this is kind of this is my vocation somehow. You're 20, 21, you don't know really what it is, but it was the one thing that I felt that wasn't really a waste of time. It was it was something that I found hard enough and fulfilling enough, to just keep going back to. And that plus my father having passed and kind of being at a crossroads in that, and wanting to find just meaning. I mean, being 20 and probably drinking too much, and all those questions that are raised at that age, and music, and that's why the Loose Goats kind of geared towards making more music that maybe was a little less in the moment and a little more timeless in a sense, I think.
Okay.
And then I had to go and mess it up by practicing and preaching the solo mio line. I hear the silence in your voice. I feel the coming of a
which is where the country elements kind of come in.
Okay. So
Yeah.
when did, or how, I guess the question for me now is what made you go from Loose Goats to Songs of Soil? How did that transition happen?
That was just Songs of Soil was just me and my younger brother, Gustav, who just had this idea of making a really, really simple folk record. Like, just make like simple songs, simple, like just kind of about our childhood.
Okay.
Growing up in Seattle, kind of like that, centered around, young love, and centered around school days, and centered around, I guess we were kind of like influenced by Nutrimilk Hotel or something. We were just kind of like in this place of nostalgia.
Okay.
The smell of comfort was the scent of your hand. And every day I'm getting older. Seems this hindsight's left me blind. Darkness, future that surrounds us.
And I was like 22 or 23 at the time. And so that's why Songs of Soil. And it was just, we wanted to make a low budget, really fast recording in the country a week.
Oh, wow.
But that record is actually like because with Loose Goats, we were always like kind of working pretty hard in the rehearsal studio. We were young when we started playing together. So we kind of learned to play together in a way, like how you're on the drummer's ass about, keeping time, and you might be on the guitar. It's like that solo is a little bit too, I don't know, metal, or, there's all these like moments when you're young and you're in a band and you just want different things artistically. But with Songs of Soil, it was just me and Gustav, and we had the same we were on the same level. And then we brought in a drummer and a bassist and a new guy on piano, and we just did it really fast. And we said, we're going to keep it simple. We're not going to, the drummer doesn't have to pretend he's Jody Stevens, and that kind of thing.
Yep.
And I really like that record. It's been that record, kind of that way of thinking that we thought that time we did that record has kind of been with me since then. Actually, that was really like I've always kind of like really tried to dumb down my way of thinking around music as much as possible. I want it to be as lustful and as just come from somewhere else than the mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. And you've got, between the last bit of Loose Goats and Songs of Soil, I love the harmonies. It's very, it feels like Eagles, America, kind of a...
Yeah, there was Anders who played bass with us on those records. He's really like a great harmony singer. Yeah, so he's good.
Well, I've been enjoying it, going back and listening to it. I'm like, especially the going from the noisy alt world of the first EP to the last album, and I'm like, that is quite a change. Not what I expected at all. I've heard your new album, and I love it. And I told Robert, we set this up, that it's probably my favorite album that he sent me this year.
Oh, wow.
And
thanks.
So I figured out, when we set this up, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back. I'm not going to listen to anything before. I'm going to start from the beginning and work my way. And so,
oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I kind of tried to go chronologically. And
you did your homework.
I tried. And I was like, holy shit, this is, I put on the EP and I'm like, this is not what I was expecting at all.
No, but it's 25 years ago. I mean, it's crazy.
It is. Then you start doing your solo work, and that leans more towards the Americana country side of things, in my opinion.
Can I crack some porcelain eyes? You have not lived till something you love has died. Redo your tongue and join in what's sung in vacant streets as you walk by. But tonight, celebrate it right. Bring the fire for the first time in a while.
Yeah. I mean, There was. I mean, I think it used to be. I mean, in the beginning, it was just kind of, you were searching for your voice, Yeah. And it's changed. I mean, it's always changing, but you're still like looking for something. And I mean, the first solo record came out 2002, which is like 18 years ago now. But since then, I mean, I still play those songs every now and then. I think it's pretty much in the same ballpark still, the first solo record up until now. I mean, it's the same person sending those songs out,
Yeah. Yeah, and you've got the same influences, the same things you want to get across. I mean, not necessarily that, but
I mean, I can still recognize myself in some of those. I mean, in those lyrics, if you go further back, it's like, whoa, this was, But
it sounds like "Slut" from Loose Goats.
It's Jesus.
Although the ending of that song is really wild.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's great. It's 18-year-old kids kind of just having a laugh.
Going ape shit on some guitars. It was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, cool. I'm glad you like it.
It is. It's so cool. Unfortunately, I didn't know about it at the time, because I would have loved that.
Yeah.
I don't know, right up my alley. But then, so you released albums for the past 18 years now. But the new album, to me, and maybe it's just because I've kind of binged it all and had to do a crash course on everything.
Right.
The new albums, it sounds a little different to me. Not a marked change, but it definitely sounds like it sounds, and you can answer this actually. I'm going to pose this as a question instead of what I think. Were the songs composed before you went in to record? Because to me, it sounds like you guys went in and you just wanted to, you had some ideas, but you just wanted to go for emotion over song structures and songwriting.
I mean, yeah, the lyrics were done, and the songs, I mean, they're done in a sense that there's a shell of a song.
Okay.
And there is a verse, and but I didn't really work it out. Like, they're written in a way that they can be easily mutated in every moment, kind of in a way, which is what I've been gearing towards most. You kind of letting your inner voice, or your inner, like, just how you play and what you play, or how you play and how you sing, be take more space than what you're used to, or what your mind can help you with. It's like, I'm just kind of going for this bluesy, this shouldn't sound blues, but the way the work ethic is more emotionally driven, than just being kind of like smart with stuff and like, this would be really nice with something, just kind of just letting it flow has kind of been like the way I've been approaching music for the last, 10 years or so. And of course you get better at that craft and stuff, things happen. And I think the big thing is the drums are kind of out of time, and they're just, they're playing whatever. And I just said to Per, who plays drums, I just said, do whatever you want to do. Because I feel that the songs are here anyway, so just play. And there's, we've had, we change every record. We try to change what instruments we play, and or I try to change what instruments are being played and how they're being played and all that, just to get a new vibe for every record. Is kind of, you want something to change.
Yeah. And like I said, me being newly initiated to you, this one sounds more almost improvisational to me than the other ones.
There is a lot of improvisation on it, of course. There's a lot of stuff that's just there was some of that on the last on the Wild Humans record. There was a lot of improvisation. A couple of songs that were like, just, this is the verse, this is the chorus, and in between there we'll see what happens. It's indie, kind of like that. But then
Crazy Horse kind of approach.
Yeah, exactly. That approach. And then I did the Doom Country record earlier this year that we recorded last summer with the band Tonbruket. That's a really great jazz band. And the reason I chose them was just because even if they play the wrong notes, they're still the right notes. Like they just play.
Tidal wave. In the alley, here to stay, or gone tomorrow, like a wild, wild baby.
And we did that record in 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
And it just turned out great. And I just because we always rehearse the songs before, and I always I try to record the rehearsals just to listen if there's stuff that's going on that's great. Mm-hmm. And I found that a lot of times it's just copying of what you did. You just like, oh, that was a really nice guitar thing there, and that was a really nice vocal thing there, and I'm gonna remember that, and I'm gonna do that on the record. And it's just, I would rather just have it be more in the moment, like that if you record it as it's happening, and then we'll see what happens when we go live.
Yeah, exactly. If you're trying to recreate it, it loses the feeling, the spontaneity, and something magical about it.
It does. And there's different schools of this, of course. And then, a band like Shellac would probably not agree, but there's for me, it just really works for me. It's cool. I enjoy it.
And I've noticed a couple things, and this is one thing that's going throughout a lot of your work for me, is that you kind of have an affinity for like spooky sounds. Like I'm not sounding maybe I couldn't tell if it was a theremin or maybe a saw going through a couple songs.
We've had some saw on some records, and that's some theremin, and a lot of synths that just make spooky sounds or whatever. Just
Okay, and one of my favorites is No Grace, because there's you've got this beautiful song, and then you get this really jagged guitar chunkiness.
The metal zone.
Yeah.
Metal zone pedal.
I see movement at the gates. No. It's forever wrapped in you. On a damn fine Good Friday, the hawks and doves came out to play. There was a child's first grave to be dug, and this was the day. We're all friends here. Now let's get on.
That's a great pedal. It was like in every rehearsal space. 90 to 93, you would hear that sound. I just got this. Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool that you brought that back, because there is like an ominous, a heaviness to a lot of this music, and it's the way it feels to me is like almost like a David Lynch movie. Like something immediately catches your attention, and then you just sitting there listening, waiting for something to happen. Something like almost like a thriller, like a movie.
Yeah.
You just
And it doesn't happen.
I set myself up for that one.
No, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, and it's almost like I'm listening to Family Secrets with some of the vocals, but musically as well. I mean, musically, there's just things come in like that metal zone pedal that I'm not expecting, and then like, oh, wow, okay, so what's going to happen next?
Yeah, right.
But then lyrically, I'm hearing these words and these stories that are just like, holy crap! I feel like I'm in a confessional or eavesdropping on some family secrets that maybe I shouldn't be listening to, which also makes me want to listen more.
Right.
So that to me is one thing that draws me, and is
cool.
It's almost I'm trying to. I've been trying to think of what movie it's making me think of, but it's escaping me. But it's like I said, like a good thriller where you notice something ominous in the background. It's just a little detail, but it's something that keeps you interested, keeps you going through the whole thing, and just waiting for what's coming next.
Interesting. I'm glad it. I'm glad to hear that, because that's kind of what you're like. You want people to feel stuff and to experience stuff.
Oh, yeah. To me, this is a perfect album for driving at night.
Oh, yeah, good. I'm glad. I finally made one of those.
But it's kind of like it's. I get the same feeling listening through this album. It's you like "Riders on the Storm" by The Doors. That song is just ominous, and I get that feeling with just about everything on this album.
Oh, great! I mean, I know I know a lot of people really hate The Doors, but I love The Doors.
I love The Doors. You kidding me?
They're great. They made those 6 records in 6 years. That's crazy. Unbelievable. Now, really unbelievable.
When Jim starts going off on his weird poetry, Lizard King stuff, I can skip.
I mean, I can get it. It's tripe, and it's youthful, and it's all that. But for generations of kids, that's the perfect gateway to heavier poetry.
Was it an American Night? Everybody I knew in high school had a copy of that.
Yeah,
they walked around with it, and I'm like,
yeah.
So
yeah, I know, but it's we need those too.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying I wasn't one of them.
No.
The album, the lyrics, they seem very personal and very, very much like you're telling a story. Are these instances of things that happen, or is this poetry?
It's a mix. It's a mix of truth and fiction, of course. I mean, truth and fiction is a mix. Truth is a mix of fiction and truth. I mean, really, literally, it's your mind changes stories and past and things on a daily basis. So, I mean, there's some stuff that I sing about is 100% true as far as I'm concerned. And 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 it's also kind of an interesting, I played just with the idea, in these times when, there's like all this stuff, this is true, this is not true, this is a lie, this is not a lie, but there's a reason that somebody like President of the US can get away with this shit. And that's because, there is a roof for him to stand up, through.
Yeah.
But lyrically, I mean, I really love to just tell a story of some sort, and it can be, it doesn't really matter to me if it's true or not. A lot of the stuff is of course, it's taken in, it comes from a core of truth, but it's mostly just you want to give the feeling of, like a song like No Grace. I wanted the song to be about what happens when a family falls apart for some reason, whatever it is. Why is grace? Why does grace go out the window? And that was kind of like the main question. Why is there no grace here? Why are the emotions so hot and so running that it's impossible to keep the grace lid on,
Okay.
Which I've always thought was an interesting little moment in time. It's it's usually just about, like these two things that I sing about with the mom that spit in the face and the dad that broke my nose. These are instances. These are like 2 seconds out of a whole life together, where there could be as much love as possible, but at that moment in time, the grace was gone, and I've been fascinated by that kind of like human thing that can happen,
It's, to me, it's fascinating writing, because the lyrics, and that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. They definitely put me on edge and make me a little uncomfortable, which keeps me even more engaged in the song.
Yeah.
But your writing is so unique, and I'm not sure if it's maybe because of the mix of living in America and Sweden, but when you say things like trouble fell in love with itself, or other weather should take a look at this weather, I mean, those have stuck in my mind just because they're unusual turns of phrase, and I love writing like that. And
oh, nice.
When it matches the music, it's like it does. It really sticks with me, and that's one of the things that I've noticed throughout this whole album is that the writing, the lyrics don't always stick with me.
No, okay.
And it's more music, and I'll remember a riff or a solo, but lyrics don't always have a good
right.
Sticking power in my brain. But these do, and that's a triumph for me.
I'm glad. Yeah. Congratulations.
You did it.
I did it.
But now it's also the vocal delivery, though, because your voice is really, it's like to me, and I was actually playing this album for my wife, and we were discussing it. I'm like, his voice sounds so familiar. But I was having trouble picking out who it reminded me of. And she's like, oh gosh, yeah, it reminds me of like Randy Travis and Chris Isaac.
I've heard Chris Isaac before. I mean, apart from Wicked Game, I've never really heard him.
Oh man, I love.
But it's good stuff. What I've heard people say that it's really great.
Oh, it is.
And yeah, I mean, I've always loved. I mean, I really love country. You know, like Hank Williams and the list goes on and on about country. Yeah, but singers, Cliff Jones, and there's so many.
That's the thing that I like, though, is that the country that I'm hearing from you, it's not the radio country. It's not the country that people are now associate, unfortunately, with country. It's the older stuff, up to like the mid '70s, the outlaw stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, like Dreaming My Dreams and songs like that. I mean, that's heavy stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't really. I mean, my like early influences vocally, I really loved like the Richard Buckner school kind of, which was more of a what was like kind of like Dwight Yoakam-ish thing.
Yes.
That thing.
I always liked him.
Yeah. But then, I mean, of course, Willie Nelson, fucking
Waylon
amazing
Jennings.
singer. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's just so many great country singers.
Oh yeah.
And Waylon, of course.
And
Waylon's been. I don't even know if he's been you don't even know anymore who's been an influence. It's just so much stuff coming out of everywhere.
I know. It's amazing. Technology is just crazy, which you can connect to, and
yeah.
It's just
You
now suddenly have influences that you never would have before, like your album, like this.
Right.
Now I'm going back and finding your older stuff, and then
yeah.
I can bash technology all I want, and I do on a regular basis, but without it, we wouldn't be connecting right now, and I wouldn't.
No.
I would have a hard time finding your albums.
Right. So. Exactly. Yeah. Technology is good.
Oh yeah, and going back to the song structures and writing the stuff in the studio.
Yeah.
Baptist Lodge.
And outside the Baptist Lodge, there's new paint on an old Dodge. And once it goes east, it ain't ever coming back. And it was what it was, and it is what it is. You know and you know it ain't ever coming back.
That it's almost like two songs. It goes and then it kind of slows down, and then all of a sudden it just picks up right at the end, and it almost becomes that whole second song.
Mm-hmm.
Which
I don't know. We just kind of did it, and I wanted to start with this 12-bar thing in the beginning, which we kind of cut in. I don't think it's the whole on the album, and or 12-tone kind of thing.
Okay.
And there's some vibraphone on there, and there's some stuff, and then it just kind of goes in from this like cacophony kind of thing into this song that was just supposed to be like a swishy wash, really simple kind of like a singer-songwriter song, whatever, just a D minor to a C, and just a classic song.
Yeah.
But I really like how it turned out. It has this nice kind of, I think it's the brushes. I think it's the brushes on the drums. They do a lot for just this vibe. This kind of, just nice, mellow. You kind of, it's like a nice room. You're just in this room and somebody's talking.
And then the Metal Zone pedal comes out.
It comes in. Yeah.
You get this nice relaxing. They put you at ease, and then something angular and comes in. Yeah. And that's what I like about this album, is that once you're kind of comfortable, something happens to kind of shake you up again. And like the end of Baptist Lodge, which or the lyrics maybe to No Grace.
Right.
So this album, that actually Country Gentle, they're just fantastic songs. And
Thank you, man. Thank you.
and I was completely sincere when I was telling, our mutual friend Robert that this is probably my favorite album he's sent me so far this year. So.
Oh, lovely.
So,
I'm glad. I mean, it's hard to find records that you like nowadays in that way, or if it's
from beginning to end.
That it sounds. Yeah.
I've got plenty of records. I'm like, I like half of this.
Yeah.
A third, maybe 2/3. But this is honestly one of the few albums I can listen to right now from beginning to end several times in a day.
Lovely. I'm very glad to hear it.
And the cover art is also really intriguing. Who did the photo for that?
My girlfriend took that photo in France, right around the Corona. I was stuck on tour in Italy. I was on tour in Italy, and a bunch of shows got canceled. And then so my girlfriend flew down to Milano the last day that you were allowed to fly down to Milan, and then we drove across France to Spain, and then the Spanish shows got canceled, and she just took that photo, and then it was just a really, like, I felt when we saw the photo, I was like, this has to be the cover, It's perfect for the new record.
It does. It matches the music perfectly.
Yeah.
So basically, at this time, you're just kind of trying to get home then before everything gets shut down.
Yeah. I mean, we went to San Sebastian for a couple of days and just hung out, and there was like no people there, which was really crazy. No tourists at all. Wow. And everything is, And then we went down we have some friends outside of Valencia. So we stayed with them for a few days, and then Frida flew home, and I had a couple of shows left in Germany that I really wanted to do, and Germany wasn't closed at the time. And then I got news that they're closing the Spanish border and they're closing the German border the same day.
Wow!
So I had to hightail it, 24-hour drive just into Germany, so that I at least made it to Germany. Because you didn't know, if it was the apocalypse coming or what was happening.
Yeah,
it's a crazy time.
Oh gosh, yeah. I've talked to a couple people who were on tour right as things were starting to go south, and it's hearing stories about having to cross borders, and I had Dana Schechter on a few months ago, and she was talking about how she had to have her tour manager. They had to sneak him back into like the Czech Republic or something at night because their borders were closed. And
yeah, it was weird. And the bathrooms were closed. I mean, it was really like crazy driving through Spain. They had like the gas stations were luckily open, but the bathrooms were closed in the gas stations. So there was like people lined up along the highway. There was all these RVs of like, Northern Europeans that had been in Spain for the winter. Right. And driving home as fast as they could. God. And it just stopped along the highway, and people pissing, along the whole highway out of Spain. It's crazy apocalyptic vibes.
Oh man, the yellow highway.
Yeah.
God, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Man, look, I've kept you for a while. I wanted to tell you, this really is on the top of my list for this year. I love it. Where can people find the album? How can they get it? And how can they follow you on social media to go to your back catalog?
I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Spotify, and I'm on Instagram and all that. And then there's, I don't know, Apple Music, and I'm sure it's I don't know exactly who the distributor is in the States, but I'm sure, it's it.
We'll put it on there. I'll tag it. I'll figure it out.
You'll figure it out, because I don't want to say the Amazon word.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't blame you on that one.
No.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
It's been a blast going through your back catalog. I'm really, really enjoying everything, discovering your music.
I'm glad.
Daytime underneath the widower tree, falling in love with the decisions made for me. from a dark so brutal it could only come from true light. Secrets and silence, irreversible pride. And just be straight.